DIY.
DIYers, welcome to another episode of the Curtis King Podcast. I mean, I don't really have a title for this, but here we are with another amazing interview with an amazing artist, an entrepreneur, a gentleman that I have known for some years. And just off the heels of a new project, I wanted to have an opportunity to sit down with Quiz. Quiz, first and foremost, how you doing, sir?
Great, yourself?
I'm doing all right, man. It's good to finally get you out here.
It's good to be here.
Man,
It's amazing to see.
I appreciate it.
It's amazing to see,
It's a bit of a setup.
especially knowing you for so long and like coming and seeing, and yeah, it's amazing to see.
One question I always like to start off with, especially when we start going down memory lanes like that. Do you know the earliest meeting that we had? Like way back when? It had to be in Signal Hill, right?
That might be like when we met or got somewhat familiar,
Right.
but I recall coming out to the Vibe in Riverside and like already knowing who you are to some degree.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's like, I think that's the earliest.
And at that time, you were obviously an artist. Were you wearing multiple hats at that time? Like we talking about? You were
Hell
still
yeah.
You said hell yeah.
When do you not?
Especially independently, right?
When do you not?
Well, man, part of the amazing thing I think that I saw throughout is just your transformation from being an artist that wore multiple hats to at some point in time, you know, you were servicing a lot of us out here with another business that you had.
Yep.
And I want to get into all of that because, you know, I asked you the question before we jumped on here live. You know, you've known me for years, and this is the first time we've ever been here on the platform. And I was like, what different now? Obviously, you just released a new project. What's the name of the project?
Grateful.
Grateful. Why grateful?
Grateful, man. I'm glad to still be here, expressing myself with the experiences that I have.
Right.
Just having the wisdom, having the information, having the experiences, but still like holding on to the edge that and the youthfulness that hip hop gives you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And still being crafty and still loving the art and like just getting to a place where like I really love who I am and love my life and like love what I'm sharing with people. And it's like
Right.
to get to this place and, you know, this age and be able to do it, how can you not be grateful?
We were talking about just we hear things coming up as younger artists about how much of a marathon this is, and I think we understand that in theory.
Right.
But then when you look up,
Oh, yeah.
beers, both of us, the beers got a little bit extra grays
Oh,
in it.
yeah, man.
The-
Not
the-
extra.
the-
It is great.
It is great.
It is great. Not extra.
I was I was looking in my mirror today. I was like, yeah, it's starting to take over. But with that said, you know, we're blessed with the opportunity to make this a marathon because we see a lot of people who don't last or stand the test of time.
Yep.
Let's start from the beginning, man. Where are you from out here?
Born in LA. Mom and pops are both from LA. From there, about 12 years old, moved to Moreno Valley for pop's job.
Yeah.
Went to middle school and high school in Moreno Valley, and by 18 years old, shot right back to LA for the music journey.
Early on in that journey, was it kind of you rolling solo dolo? Was it anybody else in the very early stages?
Very early stages, I actually a lot of my friends knew I did music and I rapped, you know, during in high school or whatever. And one of my friends' brother-in-law was involved in the industry.
Okay.
And so when I got back to LA, I had a production deal.
How many years in are we talking about that already?
Well, I mean, even in high school,
Yeah.
like I was aggressive, and so like I already had relationships, and I was getting in studios and making songs, and like had relationships with like producers that were older than me at that time.
Right.
So I had work to show. It wasn't even like the mixtape stage yet or anything like that. Like, you know what I mean?
That was an era for sure.
Yeah. So when I was able to show them my work, then like I say like a year out of high school, I had a production deal.
That's nice, bro.
And I moved.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up and why I moved back to LA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So as I'm kind of recalling my earliest years of getting to know you, and really, you know, it was I vaguely remember kind of having the conversations at the Vibe years and whatnot, but I more so remember like, you know, those Blue Division years.
Yep.
And going over to Signal Hill, and really my first thing was kind of understanding glasses because I had my first placement with the Until the Feds Come with Glasses Malone and Mac 10, and at that time I I had moved from LA to Rancho, and I was commuting back and forth out here. And I never forget, bro, like, I don't know if you were talking about it, but all them times that I would come out here, that's when I learned what some of y'all already knew, that G, like, his mind is moving at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Yeah. So we may have a meeting, but he's like, at that time, he's like, I got to go across the city and da-da-da. So when I came out here with my laptop, I'll be sitting in some of these studios, and you were like the first person I was really building with and having conversations with, and you kind of gave me an understanding of the lay of the land. That's when I first met DJ Head and so many other folks that I still have a relationship with today. Sort of how did, after that deal that you had, that production deal, how did that sort of come to be?
So I was like 19 when that happened, right? So I'm in LA, and they weren't necessarily a hip hop label. They were more like a commercial label. So it started to get rough and rocky, but I was already in LA, you know what I mean? So from there, I kind of like leaned into, because I didn't go to like middle school or high school out there, I leaned into like the 21 and over party scene. And that's where I met Head. That's where I met like so many people in LA and started to build my relationships. Yeah. And in the midst of that, I met Pooh. And Pooh was Glass's brother. And so like me, Pooh, and Head, we were already a crew, and we would party together, and I was still kind of like doing my music kind of part-time. Like I was more into like partying and being out there than I was in doing music at that time.
Yeah.
But I did make projects, and one of the projects, like at that time, Pooh introduced me to Glasses. He was already familiar with who I was. They accepted me. Everything was cool. But then I had made this one project, and Glasses was like, "Hey, you can make something out of this." Like, that's when he started to like take me under his wing. What do you think? That's kind of like where we started to meet.
Okay. I hadn't realized you were 19 at that time.
I was 19 when I went out there. By the time we met, I might have been like 25, 26.
So I was around the same age.
Yeah.
And at that time, man, I remember being in those environments, and, it wasn't unusual to hear, some of the biggest names in the game, especially West Coast, that were coming back and forth from that studio scenario.
Yeah.
What do you think it was about that project in particular that kind of caught the ear of Glasses and the rest of the team?
Well, I think at that time, you know what I'm saying? Like, they just seen me as like the homie that was around, the homie that had shoes, the homie that knew a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And so then like when I showed my music, or like how serious I was, or put a project together by myself, because like that whole independent and getting it done thing was always like my thing. I always figured out how to connect dots and make stuff happen when I wanted to.
Was that something that you think was already in place before you kind of met everybody in this space already? Was that something
for myself?
For yourself, yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What do you think is kind of the origin of that?
Man, I think it's my pop's work ethic. And like, I think naturally I have this thing where like, if I want something, or if my mind's set on something, I figure out how to connect the dots. Like I get aggressive when I want to, you know what I mean? And even now, like, I'm trying to like harness that and own it consistently, because I would do it every now and then.
And I guess the older we get, the more strategic we got to be about that aggressiveness. I know for sure. The times that I'm like ramping up, like I'm 23 again. My body has a way of like reminding me.
Right.
I was having a conversation with Nilla, and a couple weeks ago, and I told her, I said, sometimes the 23 in my brain who thinks we can still just get up and go, is overworking the older version of me, and my body is like, hey, bro.
Right.
We got to be strategic. We got to figure out what we want to get out of this day and not overwork it.
But see, like that, and that's the thing where you could like benefit from now, because it's like when I was 23, I would like go hard for maybe like 6 months to a year, right? And I would render like good results, but then I'd like kick it or do something else after that. Versus now, you ain't got to go as hard as you did when you was 23.
No.
You just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, but see, and I
just keep doing it.
but see,
stay in the lane.
I think part of that is, I think, who was it? Was it the Jay-Z Black album where it had Biggie talking at the end, and he was saying like one of the pieces of advice he got early on was treat every day like it's your first day, right?
Yeah.
I think that same kind of mentality has carried me through different stages of life, but it's a double-edged sword. Right, one that you can attack with, but also one that attacks you if you don't prioritize health and all these different things.
For sure.
It's something I'm kind of figuring out now in retrospect. Like, okay, we didn't have to. We kind of overshot the target at times.
Oh
Operating
yeah,
that way.
and went too hard to like what is it? Burn the candles on both ends per se.
Yeah. So, man, talk about those early Blue Division days, man, because it's crazy seeing so many of y'all that were in that environment that I saw the talent that was in that space. But when I think about like Cable, I think about DJ Head, I think about just all these folks who are respectively doing Glasses, of course, still doing his thing in their own spaces, man. Tell us about some of those early years and what you saw that made that such a unique experience.
Man, so like the Blue Division days, the early Blue Division days it was like for me in the beginning, it was a party. Mm-hmm. It was a party. Like whatever, like we in the beginning, we weren't necessarily like in the studio doing the work that G was doing for music.
Right.
We were showing up for the shows. We were showing up for the events. Mm-hmm. If he had a show in Rosarito, we were in Rosarito. You know what I'm saying? We was going in different places. But then once we got like deep into it, man, that was really like the training camp and the breeding grounds, like that Signal Hill spot.
Right.
I knew how to rap. Mm-hmm. I learned how to create records at that time. You know what I mean? I learned how to produce a record or like put things in place or like understand what different sounds mean. I learned how to record myself during that time.
That's interesting because I remember hearing some of the conversations. What's up, Papa? How you doing, baby boy? Say hello. My son just walked in from school right now. But I remember being in that environment in any room that you were in. Even me being, I feel like I'm still a guest, right? Because I was kind of like getting my feet wet as a producer. Everybody kind of knew me in there from doing work with TDE at the time. But even being in there, I was just a fly on the wall. Like I was just absorbing games. So I go in one room and I'm hearing G like, coaching the artist and saying, no, you got to do it like this. And I'm in there as a producer, but the rapper part of me is still like, I'm
picking up on stuff.
Put that in my pocket. Yep. And then I go into the other room and I'd hear Head telling, one of the artists, like a K-Boy, like, you need to speed up your BPMs. And now you see, all the things that he's been able to do in radio and now in media. And so I would just pick game up. And I would just be like, all right, I'm going to use that for later. And a lot of those things are still the foundation of even what I do here. So it's no surprise, man, to see everybody doing their respective things.
Yeah, no, that was a crazy time. Like really like training and breeding grounds and like learning a lot of formulas that like at this point are like just second nature. It's just a part of how I do stuff, how I hear sounds, how I make records, how I like even in you know what I'm saying, like even with my boys now as far as like producing and making music, how I position them to get the most out of them or get the most out of everybody that's in the room to make the best records.
Yeah. It's something about being in those environments where if you allow yourself to be led, it simultaneously helps you to become a better leader.
For sure.
In the spaces that you go into because you can speak with the confidence of, I know what it's like to be in the seat that you're sitting in, and I see the results of listening to that. Now I feel confident in delivering this plus whatever other tidbits that I learn along the way. Man, so in those early years, are you touring as well?
Not necessarily in the early years, but one thing where like it helped me get the music bug was I didn't take my first flight until I was like 27 years old.
Wow, okay.
And that was to go with Glasses to Miami for the Sun Come Up video shoot.
Oh, okay.
With so yeah, and that was like, like to me that was like a big experience, and that was like one of those motivating factors of like, this is what you want to do. You know what I mean?
Get close to the light. You're like, oh, wait a minute, I can get used to this for sure. So let's talk about that period too. That I think something that I started to see you in a whole nother light because, we see a lot of artists out here. You've always been a talented lyricist. You've always been somebody who had the ability to make great songs, all the above. But there's always those like one or two X factors that separate you, right? Whether it's somebody's God-given ability to sing or somebody decides to venture out into something else that separates them. One thing that you had a stronghold on at one point in time. And it's no exaggeration. You had a stronghold on was helping artists, independent artists specifically, get their music on physicals.
Oh, for sure.
And
sure.
and it was something that I was like, you were the guy to go to. It was like, oh, you want to get this done, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be done in a professional way. And you got into a place where you were creating physicals. You were burning the CDs out back when I say back when, like it's not coming back now, but back when physicals were still a primary
Same.
source of income for a lot of artists. First of all, the first question I have is, what made you, as an active artist, because it's not an easy thing. As an active artist, there's so many things we could be paying attention to. What made you even want to get into another business like CD duplication and service so many of your peers?
When I would make my own projects, I started off going somewhere to get physical copies because like that's what you had to do.
Yeah.
And I knew like at that time, I knew if I got these physical copies in people's hands, I believed in like the sounds that I made, that if they put it in, they were gonna rock with it. But I know in order to compete, I needed a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the capital for a lot of them.
Right.
So I had got my hands on some money, and what I did have, I had the capital to get a burning tower and a CD printer.
Yeah.
And I already knew, like I said, I was out there in the 21 over party scene. Oh, these flyers are the same thing as these album covers, just different sizes. I already had like a relationship with a printing company for the flyers.
Right.
Let me get the dimensions and tell them to print some mixtape covers.
That's genius. Yeah.
And I just started doing it for myself.
Right.
And then the person next to me asked like, "Hey, where you getting your CDs from?" It's like, "Oh, I do them myself."
Yeah.
Can you do them for me? Let me see.
All right.
Hey, CD baby, how much y'all charge for 100?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, bro, CD baby gonna hit you for this, but I can hit you for this. He was like, yeah. I was like, yeah. What you want to do? He was like, let's run it. And that's how it started.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well, I mean, it doesn't surprise me too. I mean, I don't know all. I mean, you talk about Pops, you talk about, kind of the inspiration of being in that environment, but that entrepreneur spirit was something I always saw very early on that ran rich in that environment. But when I saw you do that, I was like, oh no, this is different. This is different because you put yourself in a position where everybody is trying to figure out, like, as artists at that time, I feel like a lot of us are trying to figure out where to get our next dollar, how we're going to, make music that primary source of income. How do we get higher paying gigs? You put yourself and position yourself in a place where you said, how do I service the servicers?
Yep.
And I feel like those are always the people that figure something out. Did you ever,
another thing is like, if everybody is coming to somebody or talking to somebody, trying to get in the door,
Papa. Go ahead.
If everybody's like coming in or trying to get to someone or get to something,
right,
and get in the door with the same thing,
right,
you have a better opportunity to get to that person or establish or develop that relationship,
right,
if you have something different to offer.
Facts.
So like, yeah, I made music, but the producers that I met, that I ended up working with, yourself, THX, EP, you know what I'm saying? Like, I met them because they came to me for CDs for their artists.
Yeah.
And as I met them, I'm like, yeah, they're like, hey, you're Quiz who does music too. It's like, yeah. And then the relationship starts and we end up doing a record and get like that, but I'm not getting in the door trying to get beats from them.
Well, and I think that's an underestimated opportunity in when you're servicing the services, is that you're now in a place where me and you done had more conversations because I'm in a city and I'm ready to go pick up my CDs, and we end up going on some life tangent conversation sometimes, I mean, you know how easy it is to meet people, make these promises about building, and it never happens. It never comes, never comes to fruition. But it's always those times that are like, it seems like you're in a very casual environment. No business is really being handled. That business actually gets handled.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, actually, I got a session tomorrow. What you doing tomorrow? In those casual environments. And I think an underestimated benefit that maybe you weren't necessarily going into it for is, like you said, being able to engage in these conversations. And also, too, man, when you're responsible for making someone else out here look good to their fans, you become the most valuable part unofficially of their team, right? Like even with you, like like I said, I already, if you never did the CD duplication, I'm working with you as an artist, I'm working with you as a producer because I think you're dope. But I think that you kind of prioritize yourself in front of a lot of people because here you are now putting yourself in a position where the conversation is fresh, the contact is warm. So I do think that's an underestimated thing. I found that out as a producer, in that there was doors my rapping couldn't get me into.
Man, 100%.
If I'm being 100, like if I'm being 100 with you, like as much as I think I'm great as hell as rapping, it did not matter. There's certain rooms that's like, what you got in them beats? What you got those beats? And I'm like, all right, cool. I remember meeting certain artists multiple times, and if it was about my music,
right,
they forget me. But them beats, like I see, like shout out Scheme would like, anytime I see him, first thing he say, "What's good, Curtis? What's up with them beats?" I'm like, okay, cool. First time I met Murs was like, Curtis King beats, right? I'm like, all right, whatever you need to know me for, at least you know me. Did you? Funny question, because I remember there was a time period where I was sending everybody your way for business. My last question is, did you ever have like that Tony Montana montage moment where you're like, business is coming through consistently, and you're able to kind of like push it to the limit? That's the song I got in my head right now. Did you ever have that moment where it's like, this is actually doing something? Not only did you have that moment, but also was there ever a time that it started to interfere with your own goals as an artist?
I guess when I never thought about it, but when I look back, it did, because like there was a certain point where like I began to outsource because there was so much going on. You know what I mean?
The business itself, you were saying? Okay.
Yeah. So, before I started doing that, I would be up. You know what I'm saying? Like when I didn't have a full-time job anymore, I was full in with music. There were times where I'd be up 3, 4 in the morning finishing an order because I know the person's coming the next day, and I got a session for myself the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know something's supposed to happen. There was a point where like I was actually doing CDs and engineering for people and running sessions. Engineering for people, running sessions. So like I was doing people's CDs and I was booking studio time. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's just how it was going.
Now I feel bad for sending you them extra text messages.
Send it all. Send it all.
You got them CDs a day. And I never had to. It's funny, cause I never had to like hunt you down or nothing. Like it wasn't nothing like that. But it was like that's always been a part of your character, is that if you say you're going to do something, you're going to go do it.
Yeah. And also because I know how it is as an artist.
See, that's a big thing.
You got a show on Friday. You got a show on Saturday. You don't want to hear what the hell I got to say on Sunday. Not only that, if your show is on Saturday, you want to pick them up Thursday, Friday, so Saturday you can focus on something else. You don't want to be driving to me, you know what I'm saying, then 2 hours back and that, like, nah, I get it.
I did it though. I'd have met you in multiple places where it'd be like, I'd be like, I'm down here in Ontario. I'm like, where you at? I'm coming from Riverside, but I'll meet you at this hotel here. For the physical CDs, it was so important. I think there's a lot of artists that they miss that wave because maybe they're too young or maybe they just never really got into physicals. But as an independent artist, man, it was so important. It was so important to your business because, you go to a show, if you're not getting paid for the show, I don't think enough artists took this into consideration. Maybe they do now more so than ever, is that every time you do a show that you're not getting paid, you're volunteering for debt. And in our mind, it's, I'm paying dues. But it's like, if you don't come there to sell anything, why are you doing the show? Is it because you love performing? Cool. That's cool too. But at some point, that money needs to be.
Well, the thing is, like, back at that time and right now, it's all about like the mind shift and thinking outside the box or positioning yourself a certain way. Yeah. Where like there was a certain point where people believed in giving away CDs as a part of promo, right?
I was a part of that.
Or like that's how the mixtape game went at that time. If you were somebody that someone else didn't know, then you give them your mixtape, and that's just how it went. Right. Where it's like even at that time, you put yourself in a certain setting, and like say you're doing a show and your people are coming to support you, that same promo piece has value on it because they came to see you.
Yeah.
They already believe in you.
Yeah.
And if you don't choose this, if you didn't choose to sell it at that time, whether you know it or not, that was a choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like right now, or like even with the streaming, you think this is what you do. You just put it out on streaming.
Right.
And this is how it goes, and this is how it works, so this is how it's set up. But you got to think for yourself, or like think in favor of yourself, and put things in place or put things in position for people to support you.
Man. How did it feel kind of seeing the transition happen when it did? Because we never had that conversation. Like, I don't know that moment where you saw the writing on the wall of, artists are putting less demand on physicals. Artists are now shifting. And I'm sure for yourself, there was decisions that you were making about, the investment you made into the tower, and you're thinking about projects that you have coming out. How did you feel about seeing the transition go from physical to exclusively digital for a lot of us?
Yeah. For me, it connected dots for like the history to now, because we've had so many mediums change. Like, what does it say? ADAT, which like I don't know anything about that.
Right. Neither do I.
But I do know about cassettes. I do know about vinyl. I know about DVDs.
Right.
All the mediums that we've seen change over time. And what happened? You had to adjust. You had to shift. Or like, the business is changing. The expression doesn't change. The art doesn't change.
Right.
It's just the business. So then it's like, okay, this stuff is always going to change. What am I standing on? Because what I'm standing on doesn't have to change. Now, how I position it is going to have to change. How good I can get at positioning it or making it work in my favor.
Right.
But this doesn't, but like what I'm standing on doesn't need to change. They still make movies. We stream them now.
Right.
Watching movies hasn't changed. How we watch them change. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like,
That's a good point.
okay, cool. This is always going to happen.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm doing this, or this is a part of who I am, I'm going to have to figure out consistently, continuously how to adjust.
Yeah. And you said something earlier, I think that was that's right on par with this conversation, and that so much of the game now is moving back to getting yourself out there face to face with human beings. That's what physicals were all about. I think what happened with a lot of my peers that I noticed, the younger peers, is that they never had to be taught how to sell anything. So the idea of standing in front of somebody with that vulnerability of selling yourself to somebody, or like selling your music and saying, hey, I do this, and there's an opportunity for them to say no. I'm like, oh, so y'all skipped the whole step where we was out there in front of 7-Elevens or at the malls, at the colleges, and it's like that rejection became a part of your character.
Not even the rejection, learning how to be a quick salesman.
Yeah, because they don't owe you anything.
They don't owe you anything. Man, I was a 7-Eleven dude, right? And what I would do is like, somebody's coming out of 7-Eleven, probably grabbing a Swisher, getting a drink, break from work, whatever, right? I'll say, look, here, take this CD, put it in right now while you start your car, play. If it was a female, I'll tell them what song to play. If it was a dude, I'll tell them what song to play.
Oh, that's dope.
If you like it, give me $10. If you don't like it, give it back to me. We all good. Man, I probably, like, physicals for Dope Kicks Fresh Hats, I probably did like 5,000.
5,000.
Yeah.
And that's in that very, we talking about with all things considered, was that primarily through that same medium of doing it hand to hand?
Yeah.
5,000 hand to hand. Sheesh.
Like when I didn't have a job, and don't get me wrong, like, it wasn't just all me, like, G pushed me. It was like,
of course, there was other elements involved.
Go outside. But like, I was really outside pushing it. I was really outside going. Like, I would sell. I had like a routine. Like, I'd wake up, go work out. I'm at the 7-Eleven at least by 11 to catch the lunch break.
Sheesh.
Right. I'm there till like 5, 6.
Yeah.
After that, I'm at the studio, whether I'm doing a CD order for somebody or I'm working on some more music. Go to bed, wake up, do it all over again. And I was doing that for at least like 2 years.
Man, really unique question in that environment. Were you ever in a place where you know what your music sounds like and you know what the kind of music that you want to make? Were there ever times that you're listening to what the people are playing on their way into 7-Eleven, or you're seeing the people who are like giving you the nose for whatever reason that they give you the nose? Did you ever feel like that had an effect on the way that maybe you reapproach new music afterwards?
Not that experience,
Yeah.
more so the people that I was around. So the people I was around, we like different music and we come from different places.
Sure.
So they enjoy music for different reasons than what I enjoy music. I guess I'm considered more of a purist when it comes to hip hop.
Right. You and I both.
I want beats. I want rhymes.
Yeah.
I don't care about none of this other decoration you got
Right.
going on. If this isn't here, if the beats and rhymes aren't here,
What are we doing?
Yeah, exactly. So that influence came from like the people that were around me. But like even if people were pulling in, listening to something different or whatever, it got to the point where like I had people that would come back and buy 5 to 10 from me at a time to share with their friends.
That's dope. What does that teach a young artist in that space? Because I'm really trying to like now kind of like move this conversation, at least this particular topic, in the direction of advice that you would give to younger artists who now they're seeing there are people who don't own a record player that will buy a vinyl simply because they want to have that that niche item. They want to have that novelty item. They want to have the value of
Tangible
having you
goods.
the tangible goods, right? And I think there's going to be a lot of artists who have never had to be social. Two-part question. Let's start with this one first. What are some things that you think that you learned in terms of, like you said, you learn how to sell yourself quickly, but what are some things that you learned that you still hold with you today that are transferable in that environment of doing hand-to-hand selling?
That are still transferable.
Transferable today.
Be aggressive. Be aggressive. Like to me, like the hand-to-hand environment, that's just the social media now. You're in somebody's face every day.
Yeah.
You're in somebody's face. They may pass you by. They may say, no, not today. That's literally what they're saying when they don't click the link in your bio.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, or maybe on the 5th try, they click, let me check this out.
Right.
Oh, I like this one. Oh, like I've seen him here for a while. He may be serious about this. Let me see what he has going on. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? If it's passive, and I know because I've been passive before too. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I haven't always been aggressive, or I haven't always shown up. Like other things have been on my mind, or other parts of life that I want to like tackle and mess with. So I'm kind of like present but not present, you know? But yeah, being aggressive will get you results.
Man, and I like the way that you redirected it. When I called it rejection, you were like, it's not rejection. For those who do interpret someone saying no as a rejection, what kind of advice would you give them as they're trying to like get out there? It might be somebody who listens to this today, Quiz, and goes out to 7-Eleven and is like, I don't know if this still gonna work, but I'm out here.
Right.
How would you kind of help them to reframe the idea of this being rejection?
I mean, it's presence. You're putting them on notice that you're here. Who buys a product when they first hear about it?
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just stay there. You just stay there, and then somebody may, not even may, a person is going to opt in.
Right.
And when that person opts in, they're gonna let someone know that they opted in. Like, hey, you see that dude that's at that 7-Eleven, like around the corner from our house? Hey, I bought his CD. It's actually not bad. He's doing something.
Right.
Now the next time that person comes over, it's like, hey, my homie told me you was all right. Let me check you out.
That's huge. That's huge. And it's funny that you said that. I started thinking about when I was out there. I was going to Cerritos College, and I was out there trying to sell my little CD. I had a CD called Character Flaws. It was so cheesy. It was me and like a Kango I drew out or whatever, and like, you know, it was just like, I don't know. The album cover was crazy, and I was out there at Cerritos College trying to like get people. And at that time, it was like the meme in action of like, oh, it's the rapper out here trying to sell his stuff. And I never forget. I got probably 25 no's in a row, right?
Yep.
And there was one person who was like, can I hear it? And I was like, yeah, I got you. Play the music. He was like, it's cool. Like, I like it, man. I like what you do. He was like, I'm more so listening to this person, whatever the case may be. And I was like, okay, cool. But he bought one.
Yep.
As I'm talking to the next person, they're kind of on the fence. He's like, oh, no, mess with my boy, because that I heard it. It's fire.
Yep.
They like, oh, so people know you? And it's like, he don't really know me. Like, I just met him, but that word of mouth was everything. But you don't get that until you put yourself in a vulnerable place.
And even then, it was like, I'm sure a lot of that was your attitude. Like, even if he wasn't like necessarily like a fan of your sound or what you were doing, he still wanted you to see you win because he liked you. It's like, hey, I like this dude. And I mean, honestly, I think that's 80% of it. Like, You and I will pay attention to these sounds and to these lyrics to the death of us.
Sure.
You know what I mean? For 80 to 90% of people, it's background music.
Right.
And they just like us.
And the social media and all that stuff is an extension of them liking us. Yeah, that's the most interesting thing about it, man. Especially as I started to get, into the media space of things, I started realizing like the people who have opted in for a YouTube video have opted in for an energy. They've opted in for a avatar of who they believe Curtis King is. And it's
not even who they believe Curtis King is, who they believe they can be by listening to Curtis King.
Even better point. Yeah, no, you're right. Seeing it like that helped me to understand all the unnecessary pressure I was putting on my back in this. Some of it was necessary because obviously it pushes you to get to a better level, but some of it, we were talking about that where you end up overshooting the target because you're so obsessive. And I see that same obsession in you. Like when you have your mind set on things, you'll go, like you said, for the 6 to 8 months, that's everything.
Yep.
For me, I'll do the same thing, and it'll be not a matter of me losing drive. I just burn out. My body is like, no, we're not doing this no more. I refuse to move forward until you take care of me. So it's definitely lessons that come along with it, but thank God we put ourselves sort of in the line of fire, man.
Hell yeah.
It's crazy, man.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I wouldn't have it no other way neither, bro, because, I want to get into this discussion of Grateful. But before we do that, I can't have you sit here as a fellow hip hop head and think we're not gonna talk Kendrick versus Drake, man.
Okay. Classic case of what it really is versus what it looks like it is.
Ooh.
You know?
Break that down. What do you mean?
So what it really is like hip hop rap. It's just birthed from a space of like adversity. You know what I mean? Like pushing through adversity. We didn't have a voice. This is the voice that we created. Right. What I actually think about rap itself, I think it's because you got the whole come from Africa, the slave thing, we're separated from our tribes, we don't have our own language.
Right.
I think rap and hip hop is the language of the African American culture. That is our language. You know what I mean? So if we don't have a language, that's our first language. Right. That's how we start to talk to each other.
Right.
And it's just that when you're in it and when you come from that and you know how to articulate it, it can't be duplicated when you don't know how to articulate it. There's a thing with like, you notice as like an artist and as an MC, like, when somebody's saying something and it's a plus and it's a bonus and it's sonically better when it sounds good.
Right.
But then you also know when someone is like mimicking the sounds and it sounds good enough. You know what I mean?
I say that when I say it, I'm a hater. You see this gentleman stand here? He's sitting here as a fellow practitioner telling you what it is. Why do you think it's always been challenging for listeners to decipher the difference? Because I feel like there's been a time period where folks have kind of been hypnotized, it feels like,
Bruh,
by what the real thing sounds like.
I don't know if it's American culture, because I can't really like speak onto like other cultures and how they are with like crafts, right? But I will say, with American culture, we don't care about what things really are. We care about what they look like or how convenient they are.
Sure.
You know what I mean? McDonald's ain't closing.
Taco Bell ain't real Mexican food, but it's convenient and it's right there.
But we know where the real burgers is at.
Yeah, exactly.
We know where the real Mexican food is at.
We do.
You know what I'm saying? But it's not. Right. It's not going anywhere.
It's not going nowhere.
Now, what do they have? They have the capital to be in the most convenient places. They have the capital to place themselves in front of you as often as possible via commercials or whatever else.
Yeah.
Music is the same thing. So it's like, if you're really into it, somebody that's really into Mexican food is not going to Taco Bell.
Right.
Just like somebody that's really into rap or really into hip hop is not going to other places.
I like the way you word that. I like the way you put that, because it's true. It's true. It's
or even then, like, I like real Mexican food, But I'll fuck with a Mexican pizza here and there.
Look, you and I
you
both.
know what I mean?
Oh my God, don't tell me that, bro. Because
So,
you're gonna plant a seed in my brain and go get one later. But yeah, that's
So music is the same
it's a
thing.
place
It's like when
for
I
it,
want to
yeah.
hear something, or like something that's like rich and solid, and I know it's like really what it is.
Right.
I'm gonna put that on my own. Now, if I'm with the homies or we just partying or some other stuff is going on, and I know this works,
a waste of time.
I'm just gonna ride with what works.
yeah. So sort of a.
But now we're comparing.
Now we're comparing. We know what
Now
the
we're
difference
comparing.
is.
Let's break down the difference. Hold on. This isn't real beef.
This is different.
There's a lot of fillers over here.
It's like a home cooked meal.
There's a difference.
There's a difference between mainstream soul food and when you know somebody has sat there in that kitchen and made it with love.
Man, or mainstream soul food, or like that was it the auditorium, or like the cafeteria, or the other hall of the church after service. When you got the spaghetti with the sauce in the pot and the fried chicken.
All that is come on, man.
Yeah, when something
I
else
can
is
smell
happening.
it as you saying it right now, but it's like when you've had that when you've never had that experience, it doesn't even feel real for a lot of folks. And I think that's why we get sort of the music we get where it sounds close enough for some people.
Yep.
Like,
and if you're not into it and they told you that this is it, and it sounds close enough or it sounds good enough for you to believe this is it,
right.
Then it's like, like you're going to think that that's it.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But I mean,
until you had a real thing.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, that's what I thought I had.
But even then, your palate or your appetite could be programmed to not be able to appreciate the real thing.
I think that was a concern of mine the more I started to see the conversation of AI come up, because to me, AI was a challenge for two different people specifically in this game right now. For the people who have been doing a watered down version of the real thing, I feel like they get wiped out because AI can do that for them, right? Whatever generic research you've done to be a literal copy of somebody else's art, AI can do that with in a moment's notice, and quicker and better. But also too, it challenged in my mind, what is the importance of nuance to an audience? Right? We talk about things very casually, like the multis of a lyricist, or the tonality in a certain specific place, and how authentic this sounded versus how inauthentic this sounded, even if they use the same words. We talk about the nuance of swing and the drums. These are things that we don't always have the words to describe it, but when we hear it, we feel it, we understand it. That was my concern about AI, but the more that I started to kind of see it develop itself, the more I realized people are screaming for more human error.
Oh, for sure. And I was going to say that even about like, even in music, or like what I noticed it first, like maybe like 10 years ago, going through that training camp at Signal Hills, and beats. You got, you know what I'm saying? You got programmed drums. You can find a bass line. Nothing beats that live bass line.
Nothing.
You can feel them plucking those notes.
Yeah.
You feel me? And it connects and it resonates with you because you are a human. Like, whether you know it or not,
right?
You can feel that vibration. Like, it's like you connect with it differently. Then, you know what I'm saying? That's why we got those songs in our culture from certain times that like jam the way that they jam right now.
Yeah.
Or like that's why they take those bass lines and use them for these records.
It's some that to the point where if you hear some of these songs start off with the bass line first, and you're like, I know exactly what that is as soon as it comes on with the first few notes.
Yep.
And I think that we're exiting a weird space where it wasn't just in music. You talk about the whole Kendrick versus Drake thing kind of being a reflection of the real thing versus the adjacent close thing that is consumable. It is likable. I think the same thing happened even in where you see like influencers and social media lights that got into music, or the guys who were doing the skits, really amazing at the skits. Somebody had the idea of we should put them in place of the people who are trained actors. And I think so many different fields tried to see what is the ceiling of that, and they suffered because of that.
Okay.
Right? So my theory is that now we're entering a place where when it comes to lyricism, I don't want the guy that just has the biggest following to try to give me, and I want the real thing. I think the same thing, and I know you're a big sports head, is happening in sports media too, in that the analysts,
Right.
the journalists that we want to hear from, we want to hear from players that actually played the game.
Man, yeah.
So it's like, I'm so glad to see you out here with the Grateful album, and I'm so glad to see like the homie C Nice out here, and I'm like, these are the true practitioners who care about the craft. I think that we're entering a place where the fans and the general consumers are like, all right, enough of this. Like, we seen what movies look like when you put nothing but TikTokers in here. They do their thing, but this is not the space for them. Some of them are the exception to the rule, right? I think like a Country Wayne and folks like, they're the exception to the rule. He's not really a TikToker, but it's somebody who's known on the internet first and then in this space. I think that people are just saying they'll bring the professionals back because look at the quality of music, look at the quality of this.
Yeah.
So,
but I think it's also like the music is one thing, right? And like I said, like it's important, but it's also like the shift in the times that we're living in. So I would say like yourself, maybe a little bit younger and beyond, or even just like as an adult period, everybody has a dream or an idea of like the life they want to live or how they want to live it, right?
Sure.
And then like at certain point, for whatever reasons, whether it's responsibilities, life shits, priorities change, whatever, you give up, you let go,
right?
And now you like fall in line. I think like even having messages like, or empowering people like, hey, this is what I believe in. This is what I'm willing to do. This is how I'm willing to show up. This is how I want to engage and entertain you.
Right.
As far as like you watching me or being part of me building the life that I want, the life that I believe in. So then it's like you're not even, okay, they're opting into the music as a byproduct of that.
Right.
But more so they're opting into your message. They're opting into like who you are and what you represent.
Right.
And to me, that's like, that's bigger than everything. Because at that point, if it wasn't music, it could be a book.
Yeah. Well,
you get what I'm saying? If it's not a book, it could be speaking.
This is true.
It could be a podcast. Right. It could be a YouTube channel. Like
these are all extensions. But see, this is where I feel like these are all extensions of things that we did at an extraordinary level. Your ability to piece together words, your ability to listen to a beat and already hear a pattern, your ability to say, this is what deciphers the difference between a chorus versus what I do that's catchy in a 4-bar, like the nuance of things. I think about that. That's also things that are transferable skills. And of course, you have the lyricists that have great podcasts now.
Right.
They have a lot on their brain, right? I was listening to Black Thought talk about how he can't imagine a day where he wants to stop writing because he's like, every time he listens to an NPR podcast, it inspires new thoughts and even new patterns because of the way that it's being delivered. So I think we're entering a space now where, it used to be for me, as crazy as it sounds now, because I know that I'm like super into the content felt like a very stressful extra thing to add to my list.
Hell yeah.
Right? So
it feels like one for me right now.
Right. And I want to get into that too, because I know that that's another aspect of kind of like our generation where a lot of artists I saw, they're not here anymore because of that one thing.
Yeah.
Because of how much work it is. But what I started realizing is that, of course, the same people that have the ability to take these really small ideas, these really small mumbles and scats, and then turn that into a whole verse, that's how our brains are working. So when we get into making music, we get into a podcast, all these things are extensions of the same thing, which is just creativity. With that said, how has it been for you? Well, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
42.
42. Yep. At this stature right now, and I'm glad you said it because there's so many listeners right now who are trying to figure it out, sometimes through my content, sometimes through the way that I try to describe it. But nothing is better than when you have somebody that is like, look, this is the way that I'm tackling it. They think I'm some kind of superhero.
You are.
Or some kind of, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm some kind of,
you are.
I shouldn't say superhero. I'm some kind of alien is what they think I am.
Yeah, that too.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Tomato,
tomato, whatever, how you want to piece it together. But first of all, how have you been navigating sort of this new expectation of what it means to be an artist?
So I think like in the beginning, when it came a thing and like I opted into like, okay, this is something that I have to like figure out.
Right.
I would say for sure it became like too much pressure, and it became too much of a priority because I felt like it's just like it's an endless tunnel. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? It's like it's a dark. It can be a dark hole if you don't have like a goal or if you don't put it in its place,
What do you mean in terms of like the amount of work that could be exerted towards just that?
or how often the amount of work or how often or what you think you have to do to show up consistently. You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah.
And so like you have to. I feel like you have to put, let's see, your business and your goal in perspective first.
Right.
So if I want to put out a song or I'm pushing a project, what am I willing to do to push this project? What does that look like? It's not just going outside every day or wherever I'm at trying to get pictures, trying to like do this, trying to do that, like always trying to be somewhere so I always have content.
Right.
What content do I need? What can I get? Now, can I do some lifestyle stuff? Because like I just be outside. I hang out with the homies. I have like cool friends or like I like to go places. Like I can add that in there just because that's what I'm going to do with my life.
Right.
But even then, you don't need to chase being outside or chase trying to do stuff so you can get the content. You know what I'm saying? Like
I promise you that became a thing, bro. That became a thing where folks were only going outside to get the photos and leaving.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like, you know, so for me, it was like, okay, what makes sense for me? Because I don't want to be running around just because I'm trying to get content. You know what I mean? Like, what makes sense for me?
Yeah.
And so like, but I do feel like I fell into that rabbit hole at one point, and then like I dialed it back and I fell back for a few years. Just to like put life into perspective for myself. Where do I want to go? What's important? What do I want to have by this time? I'm saying like, how do I want to connect these dots? Because like, I don't want to be chasing something, hoping that something unfolds or evolves,
Right.
and it never does. And now I'm like at square one or at the same space, still trying to figure it out, chasing the same thing.
Sure.
So how could I make this worth it for myself?
I get that.
It's shifting, it's growth, it's evolution, but it's like it is involved with the social media aspect for me. So like once I got good on like my foundation, what my ground rules were for myself and for my life, now I can identify how I could put all these pieces together. You might get a bunch of like photos or whatever of me in the studio because it's important for me to be in the studio.
Right.
I'd rather spend my time there than outside at other
content.
places. Yeah, like for real, like
I think
me and
there's
the
a message
homies are
behind
going
that.
here.
I think I'm not going to interrupt you, but I think there's a message behind that in that you're elaborate. You're literally in the studio. This is your lifestyle. So unless you want me to go out here and create one specifically for content, you know, that doesn't paint the accurate picture
Or
of
if
this
I'm
time
gonna
period.
if I'm gonna go out here and do stuff specifically for content, I'm gonna make that kind of effort for one of these songs.
For one of these songs, yeah.
Or a bunch of songs in one day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna make that kind of effort for that.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm going to an event and it's music related or something that makes sense for me to go, cool. And I'll get stuff while I'm there. If it's like one of my friends that I'm close to, that I invest time with, I value our relationship, and this is something I want to be at, or they invite me and I go with them, yeah, I'm going to go. But just like I see something, I'm like, oh, I should be there. Man, nah, fuck that.
I'm with you on that.
You're going to burn yourself out.
You're burn yourself because it's enough things that are already on your plate to just become better at your craft. And I think that's where this next generation of artists, you know, we're all, I think no matter what, I shouldn't even separate it like that. I think this general era of anybody making art, as you're trying to figure out how to navigate all these spaces, that's one thing where you have to have the same conversation you just presented right here, which is how much of this is actually necessary? How much of this is actually pushing towards the goal that I've set for myself? And is my goal the same thing as this person's goal? And if it's not, why am I copying this blueprint? And there's been so many times I've had to like stop myself where I'm like, oh, this is the new mode, like the Rust mode, where you'll drop a song all the time. And I'm like, when I did this in anticipation for my project coming out, it got to a point where it was like, why are we doing this? Because it's not like we don't already have songs. The why then became, I just want to showcase my skill set.
Yeah.
And I want to remind people what it is that I do.
Yeah.
And I want to excite them and also do some testing to see, how do y'all like this kind of collaboration? How do you like this BPM? So there's a purpose for it, but it's not the same purpose as maybe somebody else. Like shout out to like a LaRussell who is just a content machine.
Moving, yeah.
He got a team. He got a content
and
machine.
that's the thing too. Like you see somebody else, it can go either way. Like a LaRussell.
Right.
You don't know what he like at this point. He has a machine behind him, like not an industry machine, but an organic machine,
a team.
You know what I'm saying? Like for real, like a real team to where like he can produce and have this type of output.
Right.
So like it makes sense versus like on the back end, somebody could be moving at a certain speed that you think, but you don't know like how they're taking care of their business
at all
in real life, their living situation, what their diet is like, you know, their relationship with their mama. You don't know like none of this stuff. You know what I mean? So it's like you just diving into something and you don't know what the results of diving in like that could be. So it is like you just have to. I mean, what is it? You just got to be practical with yourself and your life. And then utilize what's in front of you at its most optimal.
I like that.
And everybody is in different places at different times.
Right.
And that looks different for every person.
See, I like the way that you do that. To me, what that represents is a byproduct of wisdom, a byproduct of knowing what you look like when it is like working till you burn out, right? We've both been there many a times, running multiple businesses. But it's at the point now where I'm realizing, like, dog, that's the wisdom that we can bring
for sure
in these conversations with folks who are like, what is it going to look like 20 years from now? Somebody who's 20 right now, and they're trying to figure out, what does it look like for me to have this as a career? For those who value having a long-term career, because that's not everybody. That's what I'm realizing. Some folks are literally here to hit a lick and they're gone.
Right.
But it did get to a point where when I think about age and I think about so many of the OGs, our OGs, right, who were artists that were, man, they were the top tier elite lyricists, the Joe Buttons of the world. And this is not necessarily something just specifically about him, but really a mindset of you get artists that get into their 40s and they start to like become very self-conscious all over again of like, should I be doing this?
Yeah.
Is this, am I doing, and then look at the adage of this is a young man's sport and all these different things. I listen to your project Grateful and I don't hear any of that bullshit.
Yeah.
I listen to somebody that's like, this is my story. These are the things that I have learned. And this is a bit of the gems that I'm hoping to pass along to you. Before we get into this conversation about Grateful, what is kind of your viewpoint as, you start to approach in those ages where folks are starting to like, the old adage is, like I said, is all about, can you be an older rapper and can you age gracefully in this space and all that? What's kind of your viewpoints now on that?
I'm not necessarily a fan of rap being a young man's game. I know why they say it, but the reason why I'm not necessarily a fan of it is not just because like where I am now,
right?
But I think like, just in African American culture, part of the issue that we have is the lack of male, masculine voices, representation.
That's huge.
Examples. You know what I mean? So it's like, and if this is our language and this is how we can talk to each other and this is how we can spread words, you know what I'm saying? Like across the board. I'm not saying take away from anything, take away from the young man or anybody.
Right.
They should be there, but we should have variations of conversation.
Absolutely.
You should be able to hear all of it. Even like when we were talking earlier on like how I was telling you I mess with Chili a lot, right? Where I actually think as far as like the representation of African American, most of us are in the middle class. Most of us like our parents did better than their parents and they wanted to see us go to college and do better than they did. Most of us don't necessarily come from a certain level of struggle or quote unquote getting it out the mud or living it a certain way.
Right.
Not saying that doesn't exist or that doesn't happen.
Sure.
But you let hip hop tell it, that's most of us.
It's
and it's not.
Opposite ends of the spectrum every time.
Yeah. You feel me? Like it's the extreme of us, and it's like there's so many of us that are actually in this space. You know what I mean?
And those stories matter.
And there's struggles in this space too.
Human struggles that is
You know
like
what I mean?
human struggles that and I think that's when you start to realize. And you kind of alluded to, but I'm gonna go deep. I'm gonna go deep into that conversation now. I do feel like it's the same people who want to keep rap young is the same people that want the general society to believe that blackness is a monolithic experience.
Yeah.
They want you to believe that it is only this. What do you mean? They can only be gangsters and squares. That's all that's all they can be.
Right.
But that's somebody else's lack of experience trying to paint a picture that makes them feel like they know more than they know, right? So when I think about
And who's better to tell you about me than me?
than me, and how
Than
you
me.
gonna
How
tell
are
me
you
about
telling me?
you've never lived,
Right.
But I think that's also too where we're entering, bro. We're entering an era where the fans, the listeners, are like, it's got to be more stories out here.
Oh, not only that, I think we're in a time also, like, for sure, people closer to our age but like younger too, where it's like, hey, I don't want to hear this all the time. I don't like this all the time. Like, this isn't real life. This doesn't help me. You know what I'm saying? So like, you want to hear, like, I want to hear something. I want to hear Fonte when I'm on my way to work.
Yeah.
You feel me? I want to hear, there's like things that I want to hear. I don't want to opt out of what I love.
Yeah.
Because it's not an option, or it's so fucked up, or it's so toxic. I want to opt into who we are and have my choice when I have, you know what I'm saying? Like,
The same way I
depending
can
on
choose
my
that
mood or what I'm going through.
Amongst my friendships, the same way that I can have a variety of friendships that reach all types of walks of life. Why would I limit the thing that I'm spending the most time with in music? Especially in times that are like, these are personal times. You're driving from work, you're getting up in the morning. Music follows me everywhere I go, to the gym.
Yeah.
Why would I want to create an experience that's a box that's not properly representing all the colors of life, right? All the dynamic ranges of life. So,
Like, I like jazz, but I don't want to have to go to jazz because I can't mess with hip hop.
right.
You know what I mean?
And I said this earlier, I think that's also part of our iPod generation too, in that it was when they gave us the option to say, I'm going to give you a device that I need you to put 1,000 songs on. You start to really think, do I know 1,000 songs?
Yeah.
Remember the first time, like, you know, I ain't gonna put on blast who put me there, but first time I got Napster introduced to me, and I was like sitting down and I could not think of what to type first. It was too many options. It was like, you can get any song you want, and I was like, I don't even want this song, but I'm gonna download it because the first thing that came to mind. But I think that we're also seeing on the opposite end of that, the cons of that kind of, you know, a la carte buffet experience. It gets to the point where it's like, I just really just want a hamburger, like a really quality, and I want the best one I can get. So I think now, man, we are the examples of what's going to be expected of folks who start to get into their 40s and what is accessible and what we're able to do. So I commend you, especially as I started to listen to Grateful. I still got to continue to consume, but as I started to listen to it, you're telling stories that sound like they're in line with sort of the things I'm about to approach. I'm 4 months away from 40. I'm listening and I'm like, why can't I have this music? And why can't I have it more often? First of all, because it's quiz. It's you. The only person is you.
There you go.
but I listen to this and I'm like, dog, like, how dare us get into our 40s, the most wise some of us have ever become, and we say, I don't think I want to use music as a medium anymore to express these things.
Well, like, think about it, like you said, when you're 23, you got all this energy, but you don't know anything, right? 35, 40, now you know something, you have wisdom, you got self-control. You have more energy than you're going to have as you age. Right. You know what I'm saying? There's like a point where like they intersect and it's kind of like operating at optimum. But we don't think about it that way because we've never been there.
We've never been here. Yeah.
And we've been programmed for so long, like looking up like, oh, that's old. Oh, it's a rap. Or even like, you know, we know people, whether it's like parents, aunts, uncles, co-workers, whoever, where like we watch them and they opted into that where like we seen them kind of like just settle in and coast.
This is what it's going to
We're
always
like,
be. Yeah.
that was a choice. So I don't know, man. It's just this is just what I'm on and like how I'm functioning and how I'm operating.
Yeah.
And I'm like, to go to it, I'm grateful that I do have my health. I'm grateful I have the lessons that I have. I'm grateful that I have like the experiences that I have. I'm grateful that I get to wake up and really like opt into who I want to be every day. And I want people to see like, yo, he gonna turn this up. He gonna turn this up. And when I turn this up and like as I'm going, because it's gonna be one step at a time, one day at a time, one foot at a time, like all that. Like as I'm going, I want people to see like, yo, I want to get up too. Like I want to get up. I want to go.
Yeah.
Like it's not over.
Well, I think the beautiful part, bro, I was upstairs a few days ago, and I've had this thought already. I talked to Stevie Crooks about this, in that, you know, you ever find yourself looking at one of your favorite rappers and you're kind of thinking in your mind, man, I can't wait till they drop, or I can't wait till they finally do this, or you realize like, yo, quote unquote hero's not coming down that hallway, and you look up and you say, wait a minute, how old am I? I'm literally the age that I was hoping that person would do the thing, and I can do the thing. So I'm realizing like you, at some point, you, not to sound cheesy, but you literally become your own hero. You walk in the shoes of your own hero. I had that realization when I was up putting my shoes on. I was like, dog, 3 Stacks ain't putting out an album.
Man,
This on you.
When I was
not
like,
saying you're gonna make it, but you get my point in terms of like it's on us to be the ones that evolve these ideas. It's on us to redefine what it means. I'm not looking at Joe Budden to do anything. You enjoy your life and your podcast and the millions you're making. It's not on him. It is on us to be like, well, what did you guys do when you
keep it a buck? Like my favorite rappers taught me or showed me how to be nice on a mic. They didn't teach me nothing about real life. You know what I'm saying?
Damn it.
And so like, since I have like a genuine love for this art and this craft, I think about like just decisions that I made and stuff that I did when I was like from 22 to 29 to 30. You know what I mean? Where like, if I would have, because you're listening to music heavy at that time, especially when you're like us. If there would have been like different frequencies going into my ear that I enjoyed, certain decisions I probably wouldn't have made.
That's real. Wow. Makes you think how intentional some of that stuff was too, from the powers that be, right? Because it does. And it's, man, I was even thinking about like, man, that song, what's old boy's name? YMW Melly, A Murder on My Mind. I was like, it just kept coming up into my brain, and I was like, I don't even listen to that song. But I remember we had a mouse in the house, and I was chasing it down, and that song just kept coming in my head, and I was like, bro, what is this? I don't even listen to this. I don't listen to no
your mind. It's time for you to get your op.
I was like, what is this about, bro? But I started thinking about like really the hypnosis of it. But I think that's also something, man. I do feel like it falls on us, man. Talk to me about the Grateful Project. I know you took a few years hiatus. The last one that you had was in 2021, right? During that hiatus, are you still recording music? What's going on in life?
In that hiatus, I'm recording music. I'm still writing. I'm also kind of like kicking back, enjoying life, locking in a little bit more with my producer, who actually has produced my last 3 to 4 projects.
Right.
So we're like 4 projects in now, and like we're not even rapper-producer relationship. We have like a brotherhood.
Good,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and that producer's name, by the way?
The Beat District. Yeah, the project is actually Quiz and the Beat District.
I'm loving seeing this. This is happening more often nowadays, man.
Yeah,
like
and the title is Grateful. But I mean, like, my bro been rocking with me and like on like some life stuff for maybe more than 10 years now.
Jeez,
so it's like, and we're in a time where it's like the producers are the artists. You know what I mean? They're not just like a producer. Like they got their profiles and the whole nine. So
got to.
Yeah, man. So I mean, I'm glad that I can like, you know, share the space with them and do it with them. But yeah, so I'm just like, I'm writing, I'm doing my thing. But then I was also like on a hunt financially. You know what I mean? Like, I wanted to secure myself a certain way, secure my life a certain way.
Yeah.
And so that was like the heaviest thing between that time. And then once the financial part and whatnot locked in,
Man.
you know, then I was like,
your brain. He just
eases your brain so much. But like we were talking earlier off cam, where it's like, all right, now I have these finances and I can make these quote unquote life moves. You know what I mean? Like, do I go do this over here to buy a house? Do I do this over here and, you know, secure investments, or do this or do that? Which is like, at a certain extent I do, and I do prioritize it, but now I'm like, yo, I can pay for this.
Yeah.
I can pay for I could fully fund my creative side.
Right.
And that's where I'm at with it, where it's like, cool, these things are taken care of, these things are locked down. I'm on a trajectory to handle things this way. But as far as like living life and enjoying life,
Right.
this is where we at.
Man.
This is what we doing. This is what I believe in. So this is what I gotta stand on.
Man, so what was that creative process like with B District for this project? What was kind of different about this way?
The difference this way was I was like, look, anytime we do something, I feel like we get X amount of attention and it works a certain way. And then we kind of like fizzle out, yada, yada. I was like, look, let's just make songs for 2 years. Let's just get into the studio as often as we can. If there's a family event, I get it. Somebody's birthday, I get it.
Yeah.
Outside of that, let's just go to the studio. Let's just keep going.
Yeah.
And as we kept going, we built like a crazy catalog. Other artists started like coming around. Musicians started coming around. They heard what we were doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, other relationships got established inside the studio, where it's like a family now. And so then I was like, okay, we have these songs. This is project 1. But, you know, now it's a back stock. It's a back catalog. We're staying in the studio. Project 2 is in the cut. Project 3 is in the cut.
Man,
you know what I'm saying? Like group projects, collab projects, all that.
I always admire.
And now it's just like the follow through. That's the follow through. Like, that's the biggest thing on my head right now. Wake up every day, follow through.
I'm about to say, I always admire artists like yourself who have the ability to archive stuff long enough, because I'll make it as going out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of why, even when I was in a label situation with Black Cloud, that was like the thing that I thought in my mind. I said, if I ever, you know, decided to go solo and not be a part of a label situation, I'm using that autonomy with everything that I have. And so I'm just now, after it's been years since I've been, you know, part of that space or that label, I'm just now recognizing, like, you got too much dip on your chip. Slow down and build up your archive, because then you can do things like when I went on like a 6-7 week run of just dropping music, in people's minds they were like, man, you want a run right now. And I'm like, I've been had these in a tuck, some of these for like a year. But I think when you set yourself up like that, you set yourself up to give people the best possible experience, and you can also do testing in the meanwhile because of those. But with you guys recording all those records, you got these features, I'm sure that you're making new relationships along the way.
But you also you give each moment or each project, you know what I'm saying, it's time. And like, as far as like how I love writing and making music and being in the studio,
right,
and having like that kind of archive, it's not to say that I won't make new songs and like newer and older songs won't mesh to make a cohesive project. It's just that I have a catalog and an archive, so I'm not scrambling to make a project.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I can push the button when it's time to push the button, and I'm not like at my end starting over again.
Right. When do you know it's time to like look at what you have and you feel like you have a project? Is it like a singular song that happens? Is it a matter of you asking B District, like, yo, how many we got in the tuck? Like, when do you say it's time to me to put a title to this?
I have no idea. It's just more so like a feeling. Like, I knew I was making a project called Grateful. Like, I knew that.
You had that in
I had that in my head.
Okay.
I knew the project was going to be called Grateful. I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? There wasn't like a specific time or a specific song count or anything like that. It was just like, yeah, this feels right.
Yeah, I get that. I asked because I was curious if you had a system, because you're a very systemized human being. So I wondered if it was there, but that makes sense because as an artist, I know that moment where I'm like, oh no, I got some bangers. Like I got something here. This will be a crazy project if I finally put it together. But man, from what I hear, it to me, I've missed that from artists that I listen to. I listen to these highly produced albums by artists that obviously I know they have 20, 30 people that they're working with, and that produces one type of experience. But to me, there's nothing that feels more authentic. There's nothing that I gravitate more to than knowing this is somebody who is in pursuit of mastery of their craft. That's a different type of music.
Oh, for sure.
And you hear it from like the tonality, the timing, the quality of every bar after bar. And I feel like when I'm listening to this project, I hear somebody who cares that much about their process. So what I guess at this stage, man, what is really driving you to constantly improve upon that and continue to master?
I think it's just I love it.
Yeah.
Like that. It's that simple. Like I like writing. I like challenging myself anytime I hear like a different beat or a different sound.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I will know like this hook may not be as good or as catchy or as whatever as maybe like another song that I've done.
Right.
But I like how this sounds over this.
Right.
I like how this sounds over this. And then I want to say this. So let me figure out, not even let me figure out, let me see how sharp or how good I can get or wherever I could go. And that could be from cadence. That could be from wordplay. That can be from like, I'm going to run a 2. Then I'm going to switch it up at the next 2. Then I'm going to drop and do something else like before I hit the 8. You know what I mean? Like, I just like it. I even like it. I love it. Like, I want to keep doing it. I'd be in a room by myself doing it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's not even like,
I get that.
It'd be for everybody else when like you record it and get it out. But it's like, you don't hear it until I say, yep. Yeah, you did that.
And I always remind artists, I'm like, as much as we want to build a fan base, a lot of folks are not building a fan base because they haven't truly become a fan first.
Yeah.
If you're not doing something that excites you enough to where you're like, nah, I need that back. Not I have to do another take, but like I need that back. This feels too good. You know them verses where you come back and you're like, oh no, I did it again. Even if you don't choose that one, it's just the fact that you're so excited about how it's coming together. That energy transfers, and I think people who never do what we do can pick up on that. It's just like an unspoken energy thing. So I'm hearing that in you, man. I'm obviously we know because we love our craft and this is what drives us. Let me ask you this as we start to kind of wind down to things, man. What are you most excited about that's coming up next?
Coming up next for myself?
For yourself, yeah.
Oh, man. What's coming up next that I'm most excited about is pretty much the myself, Najan Go, and the B District. We made a group called All In.
Hey.
And we pretty much had everybody's sessions all together at the same time. And me and Naj got some like... We got some, man.
I'm jealous. I ain't getting no invitation.
Oh yeah, the invitation coming.
Man.
Every time we get in, we cook up and make like new songs. Like me and I just like we're so in sync and locked in right now as far as like just making music.
Right.
Like even to like when we made the All In project is done. We just like on some mixing and mastering stuff right now.
Fire.
But even with making that, like the B District would do like we have sessions, 12-hour sessions where he'd make like 8 beats, you know what I'm saying, in the session. And I say he'd send us to him on Monday. By Friday, just like me at my house, Naj at his house, we would just tag on different beats and we were sending each other a verse and a hook of different beats. Yeah. And like by the week, all those songs would be done.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
He's a workhouse, so I'm like, I've seen that
man,
as
crazy.
As a young one. He
crazy.
was like that, bro. Like, for those that don't have context, Naj, he changed his name from
Grim to
Grim
Najan Go.
To Najan Go. I've known him, and to this day, I seen him. He came to my listening party, and I was like, I'm sorry. I got to get reintroduced to the new name and everything. But man, no, Grim, I've known him since his early days while I was in Carson. If you read my book, you know that that's the person that was one of the first like lyricists that I had rapping over my beats, and I was like, maybe I can really do this. So, since those days, his work ethic was like,
oh, it's still insane.
Bro, I'm
Still
like,
insane.
he'd be like, I finish a beat, and he'd be like, all right, I'm gonna have this done tonight. I'm like, yeah, right, you gonna have this done. It's night now.
Yeah.
And the next morning, he's like, here's what I cut. What
Yeah.
you mean?
Nah, yeah. So you can imagine like him and I in the studio together working on a song, or just going sending each other stuff back and forth. Like
Right.
it comes together. Like it doesn't sound like Grateful. Like it's me on there. It's him on there, but it doesn't sound like our solo projects. It sounds like when we get together.
That's dope. That's dope. And I'm excited to see more of us, especially as we start to like approach the age where a lot of our peers get uncomfortable. I love to see us making music that's like, oh no, we you ain't see nothing yet. The best has yet to come.
Best days are ahead of me.
Bro, I love that. Okay, so we got what you excited. I got a quick question for you, because as a sneakerhead, I'm not a sneakerhead. I just got a bunch of cool looking sneakers. This is a sneakerhead for real.
I'll mess with them.
Yeah, I mess. Everybody that's a
mess with 'em.
sneakerhead talk like that, right? I mess with them. I know
like
a few
'em.
things. Can you give me a top 5 list, man?
A top 5 list of
Top
sneakers.
5 list of your favorites.
My favorites. Oh man, a top 5 list.
Go ahead and think about that. And
Okay.
In the meanwhile, I might have to pull up one of these songs while you're doing that.
Yeah. I would say, I guess, like a number one. A number one would probably be like the white threes. I like the white threes. They're just
Okay.
like super classic. Number 2 would be the bread fours. Bread fours is super classic.
Nice.
I'm a classic guy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like yeah. So 3s, 4s. After that, I'm gonna go Caramine 6s.
Okay.
Caramine 6s. Man, I think after that it's kind of like interchangeable. To me, those are like 3 staples. I guess for like a number 4, you could do Concord 11s. I'm not really like big on 11s right now.
Right.
But I think Concord 11s are like a solid staple, especially, I mean, for me, I remember like when Busta Rhymes Warm in that video for the first time, like that was like, what are those? What's happening right now?
What is life?
Yeah, what is life for
Right.
real?
Give me a rare one. Give me a rare one that give me like a left field one that nobody would. Cause you a sneakerhead for real. Give me another one. Give me one of those to end in this 5.
Left field, probably like some Galaxy Foams.
Galaxy Foams. Woo.
Yeah, Galaxy Foams. Like they were like the All-Star. I forgot what year, but they were like in the All-Star package. They were Galaxy Foams. Those is crazy.
Man, I appreciate you, bro. I
Oh,
appreciate you, first of all, pulling up and
Of course.
and being so open about your story, and I'm excited to see all the things you got going. Can we end these folks off with a song of your choice? Is a project on YouTube?
Project is on YouTube.
Okay, give me a song that I could play for these folks to give them a little bit of context of what you do. Like, one of your favorites on the
Man,
project.
let's just go right to it. Let's just go to Grateful.
Grateful. Okay, let's do that. Let's do Grateful. I'm going to play this right now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to make sure that I have all of his information here in the description so you can connect. Is there a preferred platform that you want these folks to go to?
I mean, Instagram is Quiz is dope. If you going for music, wherever you listen to music at, that's your thing. But what I do want to say is knowing Curtis for so long and like watching where he came from to like where he is now and how he believed in like the independent artists, and not only believed in it, but like put in the work and the sweat and the equity to build and put together what he's put together is like nothing but salute. You can only be like a rare person to follow through like that. So like, man, you are like one of the independent GOATs. I just want you to know that.
You,
like,
I appreciate you, bro.
you definitely give me inspiration. Like, nah, I gotta get up.
Yeah.
I gotta get up and stay out here. Like,
Cause bro, you know how it is, man. You know, and I'm sure that's probably another conversation another day. But when I see us out here, I get goosebumps when I see us out here and doing newer visuals, when I see us like continuing to evolve, because I know the time period where it was like everybody telling us we next up, everybody telling us we gotta wait, everybody telling us this is this person, and it's like, you know how many obstacles present themselves the moment you say you want to do music.
Yep.
And you can be extraordinary at it. If it's not your time, it's not your time. But one thing that I always felt like I had control over was my decision to get up, my decision to navigate this. Even if it took me longer, I'm going to get it done.
Right.
And I attribute that, man, to just being around folks like yourself that made me feel like I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
For going after these things, because I looked at you and I'm like, as I'm watching, that's why I asked you if you had your Tony Montana push it to the limit moment, because I'm like, when I saw you with the towers and I would come back there to that back office, I was like, I'm doing it. I said, I'm doing this all wrong. As much as I thought I was doing this art, I was like, I need to establish a business. And you were one of the first people I saw as an entrepreneur in this space that did not let that compromise your art or stop you from making your art. And there's so many folks who were like, I found my bag about this music thing.
Yeah.
So I send that salute right back to you, bro.
Yeah, but even like not even doing it wrong, like I knew you already had beats and you already had rhymes, right? But I think I met you when you started learning how to do visuals. And that's when I was like, yo, like this guy is different. This guy is different.
I appreciate it.
Because like those are the areas that I suck in. Like I'm not visually, besides putting together clothes and shoes, I'm not visually inclined at all.
Maybe it's the technical stuff, but I had this same conversation with the homegirl Matisse. I'm like, y'all are designers in everywhere that you go. It's just a matter of getting used to some of the technical aspects of it. But you're a designer no matter where you're a stylist in whatever you do. You style right now. Your primary focus is styling instrumentals. You know how to style it with the right type of textures in your voice, the tonality, the timing, the rhythms, the pockets. You're styling all these things because styling is a marriage of the contrast. So when I look at video, to me, I've always grown up being into computers, right? So my pops would like have a computer, and if I couldn't do nothing else on Windows 3.0, I'm sitting here playing solitaire. I'm sitting here playing, they had games like Jazz Ball or Pinball or whatever. I was always into like the little gaming stuff. And so what I figured out is that led me to PlayStation. PlayStation led me to Music Generator.
Yeah.
Music Generator now is the same stuff that I'm doing with everything with FL Studio. It's literally the same type of framework. Now when I get to OBS, I'm realizing like, oh, it's just that I love problem solving. I just think it's a matter of like, y'all, you have it, bro. Like as much, it's funny because you say that and you still got some of the most cleanest visuals of any artist out here. No matter what era we're talking about, you've always been ahead of the curve visual wise.
I just know how to pick people. That's what
but
that is.
That's having a vision on. That's what I'm
true.
saying.
Yeah.
Like if I don't see like for the video stuff, I've been so bad at it for so long that I have a long list of don't do that no more.
Yeah.
So like I got better because I saw all the times when I sit back and I'm editing these videos and I'm like, now why in the hell did you not straighten the camera out? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
it's
I
super
do
clean
appreciate
now.
it. I appreciate it, man. I got more stuff coming today actually, to try to make it even more. But let's play this record, man. I appreciate you saying that, bro.
Of course.
And this is featuring Ryck Jayne.
Featuring Ryck Jayne, my homegirl.
Man, tell me about how this record came together before I play it.
Honestly, the Beat District just made the beat, and I knew this was like it. This is gonna be like a staple on the project, and so I just started cooking.
And who was Ryck Jayne? Where's she from?
Ryck Jayne she's from LA. It's my homegirl I've known for a long time. She used to be in the Wild Bunch as the trumpet player.
Oh, wow.
And then another person I've known for X amount of time, and I watched her bloom into like a full-on artist. So like she raps, sings, produces, like she does the whole nine. But I met her and she's been on previous projects playing the trumpet. So this is the first project she's on where she's like rapping and doing hooks with me.
Okay, let's play this song, man. This is Grateful by Quiz off of the Grateful Project featuring Ryck Jayne, produced by Beat District. Let's listen to it.
Wake up in the morning and I'm grateful. I don't get it why you niggas hateful. They must be real mad at living life. You getting what you give it, get it right. Wake up in the morning and I'm grateful. I don't get it why you niggas hateful. They must be real mad at living life. You getting what you give it, get it right.
It's still money over women, power over lust. Family and fortune are two concepts that I trust. Time waits for no man, but I'm never in a rush. I just go and follow through with plans me ain't got discussed. See, we are not the same, that's something that's apparent. See, all these niggas woke, but none of them coherent. I'm telling you the difference from the men and the mice. The ones who go and purchase and the ones who set the price. Speaking it precise, listen you can learn. Ain't gotta judge a nigga, you got wisdom, you discern. See, I don't want no fame, just a fortune and some riches. Batting on a high while I'm working on my pitches. Develop a full game, see it in full range. Houses and new chains, working for new gains. These are a few things that a nigga go establish. Welcome to my garden, I'm just tending to my cabbage.
Wake up in the morning and I'm grateful. I don't get it why you niggas hateful. They must be real mad at living life. You getting what you give it, get it right. Wake up in the morning and I'm grateful. I don't get it why you niggas hateful. They must be real mad at living life. You getting what you give it, get it right.
Why the fuck you niggas mad? Oh, I think I get it. Your money's kinda funny and them dollars ain't committed. Them niggas on your team ain't as thorough as you thought. Ain't nothing like employees who be thinking they the boss. That's the worst kind of shit. Floss counterfeit. This shit is simple math, but act like it's calculus. Cancer on your team and they spreading the infection. Paying for the ego costing more than the progression. I'm making sense, right? I'm speaking logical. This ain't rocket science. I'm just phenomenal. I got another piece. Maybe it's possible. You really are what you put in your abdominal. You really are what you put in your head. Niggas sleeping on they self, you should put them to bed. Go to sleep making my product, then I wake up the checks. Hit the gym and hit the bank, I'm making wait for the flex. What's up? What's up?
Wake up in the morning and I'm grateful. I don't get it why you niggas hateful. They must be real mad at living life. You getting what you give it, get it right. Wake up in the morning and I'm grateful. I don't get it why you niggas hateful. They must be real mad at living life. You getting what you give it, get it right.
Yeah. Quiz.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. That's the one. Man, make sure y'all go out there and support Grateful. Grateful is out right now.
That's what we doing from here
Produced by the Beat District. This song right here that you heard is featuring Ryck Jayne.
It's that varsity shit.
Yeah, man.
Niggas know what I do.
Come on.
You know what I'm true to. We in this thing. Yeah.
What a time, man. What a time, man. Congratulations on a new project,
Thank
sir,
you.
and all the amazing things that you've been working on. We definitely appreciate you being a guest here, and yeah, man, let us know when it's that time again.
sure.
I definitely got to get that
we
that
cooking
interview
up.
with All In, and we got to cook up too, man. That's
Yeah,
without a
yeah.
doubt. We got to get you on an episode of Location at some point as well.
For sure. For
All right.
sure. Yeah, we definitely gotta. I mean, whether we come here, you come out there, cook up with
I'll
us,
make it happen.
man, beat, rhyme, whatever. Hey, if y'all want to check out something for real, that timestamps, look up Quiz featuring Curtis King, One Love.
One Love. Ooh, I haven't heard that in a
It's off the Dope Kicks Fresh Hats project. That was like, I can't even tell you what year that was, but it's still like, it's still
2014,
solid.
I think.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Definitely go check that out. A young animated Curtis King. I've learned to get into a much more mature pocket. I've learned my ways. But man, congratulations and thank you again, sir. DIYers, I appreciate y'all once again for being here. Make sure that you hit the like button on the way out. Absolutely. Share this video and all that good stuff, and make sure that you connect with Quiz with all the information that you see down in the description. Go support this project. Is there an opportunity for them to buy anything? Like you got physicals or anything available?
I got Grateful merch coming. It's probably I probably have it like towards the end of the month.
Okay.
Yeah, you know it's gonna be a fly trucker hat.
Who am I talking to?
Fly vintage
What do you mean?
shirt.
What am I asking
You know
right
what
now?
I mean? Yeah.
That's
so
the
we
guy.
so we got that coming on the way towards the end of the month. I'm gonna have them. I'm gonna have them at the release party, then like sell them for merch from there on out.
Okay, and when is the release party?
The release party is looking like Friday, October 25th.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna do it at Payday LA.
Yeah, I gotta be there. I gotta pop out. Mm-hmm. All right, well there it is, ladies and gentlemen. DIYers, thank you again. Peace out.
DIY.
DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.